That's going. 2 PTO events in 1 week. It's an exciting time.
I'll help you with some notes tonight, V. Paul.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate it. It does help. I don't. Oh, hold on. Let's get rid of that. That's okay. So that's running. Get the link. Drop it in the Facebooks. I always have to verbalize this because I know I'm tippity tapping and people are wondering, what is Paul looking at? Bancroft Elementary School. Where is our page? March PTO meeting. Join us.
I can get us started on intros if that's helpful, V. Paul.
Yeah, go for it. Yep, absolutely.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. If you click on participant list, it lists everybody's names, and that might be just a way. I think that shows up the same for everyone. I'm not as familiar with Zoom as I am with other platforms, but it might be a way for us to just kind of do some intros. Typically, we've had people share, what grade their students are in, or if they're at school, what their role is. So certainly share as you feel comfortable. I'm Robin Anderson. I have a first grader in Miss Ramgren's room and a third grader with Miss Kennard. And so then we'll skip V. Paul. We'll kind of close out with him. And next on my list is Brianna. Is that also what others have on their list?
Kind of, sort of, maybe. But I am good to go. I'm Brianna Nichols. I'm the assistant principal at Bancroft. Mr. DePaz will not be able to make it this evening. I will also I appreciate your grace. I have a gap in childcare, so my 4-year-old will be gracing us for a little while to say very hello, and she's, so I apologize for that interruption. Short notice can be difficult. Hey. But I'm here and I'll do my best. So I do have 2 children. One of them is not school age yet. One of them attends Minneapolis school. And then I have Jen next. So how about Jen?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jen. I have a first grader in Miss Lewis's class, and this is my first time attending a PTO meeting live, but I always watch the live stream. So glad to be here.
Thanks. Next, I have Justin.
I'm Justin. I'm the PTO treasurer, and I have a first grader in Mrs. Melson's class. Third grader in Mrs. Melson's class. And I will call on Lindsay.
I'm Lindsay. I have a third grader in Miss Anderson's class. And again, this is my first time attending, but often we'll watch the live stream after the meeting.
Thanks. Mandy?
Hi, I'm Mandy. I have a second grader in Miss Anderson's class and a fourth grader in Miss Forster's class.
Love it.
Yeah, and I'll have to duck out at 6, but I will watch the live stream and follow up.
Excellent. Thanks for being here. Michelle?
Hi, I'm Michelle. I have a first grader in Ms. Lewis's class also, and I do some communications for the PTO. And I'm sorry, I got headbutted by I also have a 3-year-old who headbutted me today, so I'm having a really bad concussion day. So I'm probably going to be turning my camera off or on and off, but I'll be here, but I probably just won't be able to look at the screen at various points. So, and let's see, I think Nikki next on mine. I think it may be different than everybody's, but.
Hi, I'm Nikki. I have a daughter, Henry, who is in Miss Anderson's 3rd grade class. This is my first time being at the stream. I used to attend the site council meetings pretty regularly, but this is my first time on the stream, and I, like the others, have watched after.
Thanks. Samuel. Oh, I think you're muted. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Hey, my name is Sam. Sorry, just disjointed, trying to figure out dinner, watching both kids, and I'm in a meeting. I'm in a meeting. And son, chill. Man, 2020 stretching on. It's 2022. We still doing this, right? So yeah, my daughter Ari goes to Bancroft. Yay, she's in Miss Dibble's class. My son hopefully will be going to Bancroft next year in High Five. He's at Waldorf School. We live in Powderhorn. I missed if there was a prompt. Please don't pull on me. You got kids. Keep playing. I'm coming. But yeah, I'm gonna keep myself muted because they're pretty unruly, and my wife's working late. And Tuesday and Thursdays are my days to just be with them. But yeah, I'm
Perfect.
interested to hear more about how we can support each other, and yeah, all of that. So I'm just gonna like mute and chill and attend.
Great, thank you. Sarah Greenfield, I've got next on the list. We're just doing intros if you're just joining us.
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, yep.
I have a daughter, Kayla, who is in 4th grade in Miss Amanda's class.
Thanks.
And I think
Next,
the other Sarah hasn't gone yet. We're
Yep.
passing.
Thanks. Oh, I think I can't hear your audio. I can see that you are unmuted, but I can't hear you. Maybe try your voice again and see if it kicked in. Huh. All right, well, you're welcome to put into the chat if you want to share, and thanks for being here. Tom. Maybe
Hey, I'm here. I'm going to be off camera just because I'm also trying to do 6 different things and you don't need to see it. I'm Tom. My daughter is in Miss Simpson's kindergarten class, and my wife is an educator up at Olson Middle School. So we're paying attention to lots of stuff these days.
Thanks. And I wasn't noticing if there were others who joined in that haven't introduced themselves. We're just doing quick intros, sharing your kids' grades and if your role at school. Let's see if I'm missing anybody. Let them chime in or not. I think it's pretty typical in these meetings. We see faces and kids and families, and of course, do what you need to do as the time passes. And we're glad you're here. And I'm going to turn it over to V. Paul.
Thank you very much, Robin. I appreciate that. And it's nice welcoming all you folks new and returning, and folks from last year's councils that I remember. I want to call out Doug Carlson. Thank you very much for being here today, because I couldn't find your email. I wasn't sure if you were on any of our lists, and you did contribute some good discussion points on Monday. So if you haven't yet, and this is really a call out for everyone else, if you haven't yet gotten on our email list, please do so. It's not a spam list for sure. We don't send out a lot. It's really just to update activities that we do, such as just having the annual meeting. You'll get a push about that. You'll get a push about, not annual, monthly meeting. You'll get a push about the events that we host. So thank you very much. So I'm going to share my screen. There it is. I'm hoping you're seeing that. So we've come through the welcome, just getting through to board reports. Justin, I see that you were able to get a balance sheet together, so I am going to open that up. And do you have anything that you want to highlight for us so that we have this in our mind as we move through this discussion?
I have a couple things to talk about related to the treasurer position. I don't know if you want to do that now, or if you want to just wait until like discussion of new business. There's some questions and some just sort of updating information.
You're on mute.
I think if it's new business type discussion, maybe we could hold to the end because of the other items on our agenda. But were there anything to highlight? I noticed you were able to pull out and separate, or is that from a meeting with Sue to sort of confirm?
No, we still haven't made that connection yet because of everything else that's been going on. We just haven't been able to meet. So that's still pending. I don't think that's going to affect too much in our daily operations. So there's no worry there. Basically, in the last month, we've spent about $500, and that's mostly on plant sale related materials, so flyers that'll go out, the order forms and stuff like that. So we've got all that purchased now, and it's at the printers, so we should have that in the next couple of weeks.
Great. Great, thank you. And so then just to sort of highlight, because of what may be coming up in the discussion here, this is what we're looking at year to date of our intake, not counting what's been saved up by previous councils, nor counting the Masonic funds. This is a separate tally, in part because of how well we did at Readathon this year. And then scrolling down to take a look at where we stand. So just looking at the amount of our revenue of this particular year and what we have expended, this is kind of where we're sitting. Of course, again, not it's included in this amount, but it's not quite represented. I mean, we are in a good financial place. I just wanted to give people a sense, particularly those new to council, to PTO, what our finances look like. And as a matter of context, we are working through the process of separating out the Masonic Lodge funds that we hold in trust on behalf of the school that go to field trips and other sort of experience-related expenses. Would you consider that an accurate statement, Justin?
Yep, that's all correct. Yep.
Great. Thank you. Checking back with Robin, was there anything new at all through the teacher request form?
No.
Great. Well, not great, but thank you for that. And just from we don't normally have a president's report because I do so much talking. Why do we need to hear from me anymore? But I did just want to use this opportunity to highlight that the Great Bancroft Book Drive and Exchange was a hit. It was great. Thank you very much to everyone on that last week. It was a marvelous time. Thank you to the volunteers that showed up, really, and all the generous donations. I'm glad we were able to get it done. I really hope it becomes an institution and that future PTOs carry through with it as a spring event or a winter event. So we've got three things. Let me go to here. Three things that we sort of are going to try to work through. And I know we're on a time crunch, but we have from Site Council last week, the Bancroft's 2022-23 budget that is due tomorrow for tie outs, meaning Brianna and Diego will be submitting to the district what magic they're able to do with the funding levels that we received. And this meeting today is to sort of discuss, well, how can we as PTO advocate a little bit more strenuously on behalf of our school to increase funding there. Even though tomorrow's the deadline for submission, there is a revision process and it's not finalized until June. I believe April, May is the revision period. And so we've got time to sort of work through this and do some letter writing, do some call-ins. So that's part of today's discussion. The other part of today's discussion, which I imagine has also brought people to this meeting today, is we held our PTO hosted teachers info session on the teacher strike. We came away with some good information, and we did come away with some action items. And I was looking toward PTO taking some action, taking some funding to support our teachers, and also to give info to our constituents, our families, so that they can act as they want, how they want to engage or not engage, how they want to support or not. But truly, the idea is for all of you and everyone who's watching this recording later on, how can you sort of be active in your own way that you're comfortable with? And then two heavy items, and then this particular item, I am looking for a vote to fund the March 31 Family Involvement Night, which is a bingo night, just like what we did Turkey Bingo in the fall. 103 or so participants. It was a pretty big hit. And that's 103 like computers joined. There were people in the background. So there were more than that. And so we'll discuss that. We will sort of save that toward the end, but I am looking for a vote on an expenditure there. So having said that, let me just see in the chat. This is a practice vote. We vote via chat. Put in the chat, please. Should we start with the budget talk or the PTO action items from the strike talk, given that there are some people here with time differences? Let's just vote where we're going to start with the heavy lifting. And I'm watching the chat.
Several votes already for strike talk.
On budget, yeah.
Looks like overwhelming, kind of focus on the strike.
All right. So let us, given what was put in there, we will start with strike. Thank you very much for that practice vote. So what do we know? We know Monday evening is the go, no go on the strike. That's how late we go. So as of today, we could say maybe there's not going to be one, right? We do know there are preparations underway. There have been committee members, teachers from our own school involved in planning. Nikki O'Neill is here and she has some plans that she will share with us and into this reporting. But Monday evening is the go, no go. As we know, there are talks are ongoing. It's all private. There's not very much being reported out of it. We do know, and Brianna, I'm going to look to you for a nod, yay or nay on this, that our building is going to be closed if there is one. We do know that the school or the district announced that there will be lunch bag distributions after day one at our schools. But the question is our school going to be doing that? Is that a nod? Yes, Brianna? So after day one, there will be some lunch distribution. There was also an announcement of possibility of limited childcare at some school sites, and it's a matter of checking with our schools whether or not that's going to happen. You know,
yeah, I can talk to that a little bit. So in the event that I guess I'll preface with, I think most of you know, so Diego and I both will just say, you know, we're in a tough spot. And so really, we are not really allowed to have much of a discussion. I personally, himself, regarding a strike. So I can give you the information. I won't be voting on anything. So please don't take it the wrong way. It's just that we just need to follow our contract as well. So please just know that as I talk, that there's that information. So yes, in the event that there is a strike, our building would be closed to those, like, you know, students and visitors. Lunch bag distribution, yes, that is, we haven't seen what that looks like fully yet and what that plan would be in place, but we are told that there would be food for pickup at every school site, so ours included. Limited childcare options. We don't have completely the specifics in the event that they do go forward with limited childcare. They are looking at very few sites, and Bancroft is not named as one of those sites. And it would be basically, they're calling it, I think, a crisis emergency childcare. And so we would not have that information until Monday evening or Tuesday in the event that there would be a strike. So in the event that there is a strike, then they would move forward with getting that information to families about how to apply for the emergency childcare services.
Got it. Thank you very much, Brianna, for bringing clarification there. I know there are emails and info being shared, but of course, it's truly the value of the info is what's coming out of our local schools, because that's what we can act on. And then I don't know if people, I'm on Minneapolis Kids, and they got the announcement today that there will be no Minneapolis Kids coverage because they are part of the union. And no ECFE, no ComEd for youth, but community ed for adults will continue. So that's in terms of real information for our families to sort of plan moving forward if there is school disruption. That's what we have for information. In terms of action steps, I've sort of been harping on this for the last several weeks. As many folks as we can get into the family directory, the more useful the family directory becomes. And we invited our teachers and staff to become part of that family directory. There is now a new tab called Bancroft Staff. So if families want to be in touch with their teachers via their personal contact, not their school contact, they have been invited, and some have listed. So I am continuing to update that family directory, and for everyone that joins that's new, I get them access. So if you've not received access from me yet, it probably means you're not on the directory. And if you go to our PTO website, the directory link is there. I want to invite Nikki. Well, let me also say this. If there is a strike, as I understand it, our teachers will be at our site in the mornings, 7 to 10, give or take, for the duration of the strike. They are organizing amongst themselves things like who's bringing the coffee and donuts that day, that kind of thing. who's making the signs, they have a chant leader, the kinds of things to sort of help with the engagement. And one of the questions I'm putting forward to PTO is how do we support our teachers wherever families fall on the matter of the actual issues being discussed, where and how can we as PTO support our teachers? One of the things I'm wanting to propose is that we act as a clearinghouse of information, so that if families wanted to donate food, at the very least, we hold a Google sheet, and we know on certain days, certain things are being provided, but these days there are openings and they could use some help. That is one way. I think that's an easy, low lift for us as PTO. But then the other way is the fact that the building is closed and there will be no access to facilities. And so one of the things I'm putting forward for PTO that came out of our Monday discussion is, can the PTO fund a porta potty? There is a parent who has lent her home as a possible facilities, meaning using her home facilities, but also where we could park the porta potty on 12th. I did reach out to the businesses along 38th and I haven't heard back. And I know other people have been reaching out to other places. So I'm not really sure where it lands. It looks like porta potties are between $1.55 to $2.25 a day. Maybe it's a free delivery. If you order ahead of time, it's a 72 hours, one of the longest ones. So one of the things I'm going to be looking forward is putting a vote together, not necessarily for a specific expenditure, but really for a fund. And what are we comfortable with given our place and our finances, and given what we're comfortable with in how we want to be supportive, what would we do to sort of put together that porta potty fund? Having said that, the teachers then, as I understand it, disperse in the afternoons to other sites throughout the day. So that's kind of the action that occurs at our school. I would now like to invite Nikki. You have some information to share, and if you wouldn't mind introducing your role and how the information pertains to you, you have the floor. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Hi, you guys. I'm Nikki. I'm an associate educator with ECFE. I do have a daughter that goes to Bancroft, and I used to be a special education assistant at Bancroft as well for a while. I am here to invite all of our families that would like to support the teachers in the strike, if it does happen. Next, it's going to be either Thursday or Friday. We don't have specifics yet, but we will be hosting a march and getting together with Green Central, and it'll be Green Central, ECFE, and the Bancroft teachers. And we'll be marching through the neighborhood and hopefully hitting all the different sites. And we're inviting all of our friends, family, neighbors, anyone who's interested in supporting us to show up. You can bring posters, you can help us chant, you can just march in a line with us. You can just show up and just show your face. The more support we have, just the better it is, and the more pressure that's put on people to do the right things. So as I get that information and things get more concrete, I will get that information to Paul and he can send out emails so everyone can participate if they want. And there are some Facebook pages where people are asked to sign up for different things if you want to volunteer. But I love Paul, your idea of being like a clearinghouse for and having a Google Doc that people can sign up for. That sounds amazing.
Great. Yeah, no, I think one of the things, and I'll communicate this out also to Brianna and Diego, hear this, because our website is hosted on is a school resource. The information that I do share will be shared via our Facebook page and via that worksheet that or the Google Sheet. So Nikki, you get me the info, I'll get it to Facebook. I understand not everyone's on Facebook, which is why I'm going to use that other site as well. But if you don't think you're on our email list, if you're here because you got a flyer, please put your email in the chat. And Robin, maybe if you wouldn't mind just copy pasting that, just to make sure we have contacts. I think Doug, again, I couldn't find you in our email list. So I'm not sure if you are on our email list. Thank you, Nikki, for that information. I know we've got a hard stop for some folks here. It is 5:57.
Can I chime in really quickly?
Go ahead, Michelle.
It's to let people know, for people who are on Facebook, there is, in addition to our PTO page, there's also a PTO group that people can participate in. So Nikki or anybody else, if people want to put anything in the group, Paul or Robin and I can grab it from there. But that's also, that's a way that you can kind of participate, another way to participate if you are on Facebook. Thanks.
No, thank you. So go ahead, Mandy.
Well, I just had to go, sorry.
Oh, okay. Well,
I tried to find the leave button and clicked mute instead. So.
yes, absolutely. Can you hold 3 minutes? I'm going to try to put a vote here. I'd like for your vote in it.
Oh, sure.
So we do have a couple of things to discuss, in particular this. I'm going to save that for now, but I am looking for a vote on this because I really want this to be a transparent, kind of openly discussed thing. And the vote is this, whether or not we're ready to vote on this at this point is.
Could I just put in one thing too?
Go ahead, Justin.
And not to throw cold water on the whole thing, but I guess I do believe we are registered nonprofit 501c3. Does anything that we're going to fund or do come into conflict with the rules that I guess dictate what you can do as a nonprofit organization? I just want to make sure we're not doing anything illegal with our funding, right?
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. And as 501c3s, we can't be involved in the political process. This is a labor negotiation, not a political process. But regardless, the expenditure I'm about to ask for is not an expenditure toward anything. Truly, it's an expenditure toward a porta potty. And then the rest of our activity as PTO would be encouraging our families to engage as they want, being a clearinghouse of info if they want to bring cookies and treats one day. And then there is this policy, which because it lives in the municipal code, is well within our ability to make an expenditure, but that's a discussion that we'll have after this. Mandy, I know you're chomping at the bit here to get out, but Justin, how do you feel about that answer?
I just don't know what, I don't know what laws govern it and what rules, if it's municipal rules or laws, like that say, does this count as a gift or something? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be construed as a political thing because technically a salary negotiation could be seen as that kind of thing because it's two different entities. I don't know. Maybe Brianna or somebody else, if anybody else has any familiarity with nonprofit management can weigh in on this, that'd be awesome. I personally don't know. I'm just bringing it up because, when it relates to funds, it's something I guess we should know. I mean, I could look it up. I could try doing some research on it after we vote on this. But I just wanted to be clear that we're not doing anything we shouldn't be doing.
Absolutely. I hear you, Justin. Mandy, I release you from your obligation. I know you've got a thing. We'll connect over email.
All right, awesome. Yeah. I don't know if my verbal support means anything, but I vote yes. And in the meantime, after we vote, we just research whether it's legal. So,
great.
All right.
Thank you very much. Tess, you have a question?
I just wanted to say maybe we could vote based on someone following up and finding out if it's okay, but we could actually vote now.
Let's do that.
That's absolutely the way to go on it. Again, as I said, if I can, I haven't actually formulated the question, but really the intent is to approve a fund that would go toward this. And because we're still having to actually shop for the porta potty, would you believe? It's going to be a one for yes, 2 for no. It's going to be in chat. The question is this: should PTO provide $15?
I've got a question in the chat if that helps people. Sorry. I think the question is like how much money do we want to set? Like you were talking about, is there a limit we should set?
Right, and that's So do you approve the use of $1,500 from the PTO fund to for a porta potty? So a maximum of, if it could be lower if it's a one-day strike and it was just a one-day use. But then once we hit that max, regardless of how long the strike goes, we've sort of hit our ability. And I think from a fiscal place, I don't think anything more than 1,500 is where is the logic I'm applying here. So do you approve of the use of $1,500 from PTO funds for a porta potty to be placed at a location adjacent to or nearby the school in case there is a strike? 1 for yes, 2 for no. I believe there are 16 minus 2 because Brianna won't vote and I can't vote, or Brianna can't. won't vote and I can't vote. That's right. So it's 14. We might have a tie.
I think I sent my vote just to Lindsay, so now I'm sending it to everybody. I don't know how that happened. Sorry, Lindsay.
That's okay. I did the same thing.
It looks like the motion carries. Thank you very much for that. So there's one action item that we've taken care of. And let me say, I'm very happy to say this is the largest vote that we've done. So I think if there was a time to bring in more people to do a larger vote, this certainly is one of those times. Porta potties are important. Okay, having said that, moving on, the other item that I wanted to sort of discuss on this, I mean, I will make this particular slide deck publicly available so people can get to the links. I'll put it on the YouTube channel where people get to our recordings, and then it will be on our Facebook. There is an out there floating around an MFT volunteer form for families that want to be involved more directly with MFT in terms of this action. So there is that. The Action Network has put out a petition. Get as many signers addressed to Superintendent Graff. The thing that I wanted to get us to was this $5 cap, because the question did come up. What if parents and families and caregivers want to support more directly to our teachers and staff? And as we know, there is a $5, we have been operating under a $5 limit per gift. And this is the policy from which that is derived, all right? And so gifts from students, parents, and parent organizations, except as allowed, no district personnel may receive gifts. So this is saying that this is the only way that gifts would be allowed. There's something regarding volunteer chaperones for field trips. We're going to skip over that today. Principals and teachers should advise their classes and parents that gifts to personnel are not expected, nor will they be accepted if offered if they don't meet these conditions. Okay, so now we're at the conditions. And as we understand it, teachers may accept gifts from students or parents in their class for that year at no more than $5 per student, right? So that's what we've been operating under, just generally. Is that are we kind of in agreement that that's kind of what's the way we've been behaving? So now here is one item I sort of want to make, and this is for those families that want to coordinate their giving. If the class or any part thereof makes a joint gift to the teacher, the gift must not be of value more than $5 per student. 24 students in the class times 5 is whatever that limit is. I'm not doing the math mountain on that, but that means any portion, an entirety of a class or a portion of a class may give to a teacher no more than $5 per student enrolled at that particular time. So 5 times 24, let's pretend for room 207. It doesn't mean that you have to have all the families contribute. It does mean that if there is coordinating going along, that's your ceiling. So that's my first read. My second read, and this is the one that I was trying to make work for a particular teacher last year that was having some financial difficulties, and because of the wranglings in the back rooms, it didn't work out. But teachers and principals may accept gifts from the official parent organization of the school in which they work, so that would be PTO for us, if the value of that gift is no more than $5 per student enrolled, which in our case is 393 students times 5, is our ceiling in the PTO's ability to give to teachers and principals at the school. So that's the policy under which that I'm sort of operating here. And not to say that I'm looking again for another PTO expenditure, but more to say that if there is a will among our families to coordinate a charitable giving campaign, a Give MN, a GoFundMe, if it's funneled through the PTO, this is the rule that governs that. And so as it reads, 393 times 5 is the ceiling for which we can manage a charitable giving campaign that's specifically directed at the teachers in our school. I'd like to open the floor to discussion on that, please. Oh, thank you, Sarah. 1965. She did the math mountain. So seeing that there's no active discussion, what I'm putting forward is an effort by PTO to communicate this out to our families and be available to them if the families sort of are able to coordinate this. And it certainly could be any of the families that are on this call now. It could be families that are external to us that watch the recordings or that have their own conversations after the fact. I'm not looking at an extra expenditure from PTO coffers, but I am looking at PTO acting as the fiscal agent, as it were, for a charitable giving campaign, whether it's through the Give MN site that we already have an account with, or whether it's through something else like a GoFundMe. Although frankly, I think the Give MN is probably the most logical place because we already use it. Everything is set up. There's already a direct payment into our account. We don't have to pay any more fees for joining another charitable giving site.
I'll just chime in here with Michelle's question and just kind of like verifying what this means. I think two things. It's really like sharing this information with families so they understand what these rules are and that they exist. And then I think it's figuring out as a PTO what our role is in that. And again, I think that is sharing this information so that families know and understand this policy and rule that exists. And then determining what families want to do on their own, right? Like it's.
Yep, absolutely, Robin. Yes, that's a correct statement. I think again, we are not as PTO. I am not looking at putting onto folks decisions they should be making, but I am looking for PTO to be able to facilitate decisions that are made. And
Right.
As we know it, again, going back to these two rules. Oh, sorry, the chat's in the way. Going back to these two rules. For families who want to more directly support the teachers that they formed their relationships with, that their kids have spent the last half year getting to know, if they're looking at giving support more directly, they have $5 per. They can organize on their own as a group within the class and do a total of $5 times 24 or $5 times 20, depending on the size of the class. Or for a larger effort, if families do coordinate a charitable giving campaign, PTO, that comes through the PTO's Give MN, again, is where I think is more logical because we've already got the account. People give to that at the end of the campaign. We disperse a check that came from it, minus, unfortunately, the 3% fee that Give MN sort of collects as a way of doing business.
I think the value add in this is there's a lot of conversation just at large about how you can support teachers during this period of the strike. And there is a general fund across the district, from what I understand, that people can contribute to. And so when families from our school may see that, they may think, great, I might want to submit to that, but they also may want to directly support our own teachers and staff. And this is how they can do that and understand what those parameters are.
Absolutely. Thank you, Robin. That's, I did not say it that way, and you certainly added clarity to that. So yeah, it's a larger effort, but if it's a more directed effort, this is one way to go. And then Molly, to get at your chat, I believe it was you, Molly. It's not an either or. Because this is recorded and we're having this discussion, I'm pointing out the policy as it's actually written so that there's no leeway on its interpretation. If families want to do their own effort, not including PTO, they're just doing their own thing, which is absolutely fine. There's the rule that governs that. And if families are interested in a larger effort to get at all of the teachers at our school, for example, if this becomes a protracted thing, and I know it's the longer it goes, the harder it's going to be on everybody. If there's a will and a need for more support, the mechanism for it is via PTO for the amount $5 per student enrolled times 393 is 1965. Thank you again, Sarah, for the math mountain. And so I'm sort of putting that out there. This is not well, I mean, I suppose it could be, but I haven't yet asked for a vote necessarily on it, but I am looking for discussion on the nay side if there is.
There's a question in the chat about how this applies to ESPs. So again, policy, as policies want to do, it's ambiguous and specific at the same time. So
my understanding is that ESPs are included under this teacher moniker. Now, if we were to look at the state statute is not this strict. Minneapolis's application of the state statute is much more stringent. And at the state statute, it's really, the limit is really to principals, site managers, which would be Brianna and Diego, for example, and those that have the ability to make purchasers. Teachers are not actually included in the state statute. For whatever reason, when as the rule rolled down to the district, it became a teachers and principals thing. So my understanding, because of that, and I'm no lawyer, nor do I play one on TV, ESPs fall under the teacher moniker. Thank you for the question. Yes,
This is Sarah. Just,
go ahead, Sarah.
just clarifying. I think my question was also just like, what would count as their classroom? But I also want to say, like, with holiday gifts and things, I mean, I don't think this policy is super enforced. And I think it's important in this kind of context. You want to like observe it overall, the spirit of it. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, Sarah, absolutely. I hear you. I've had this conversation with others, and certainly the spirit of it and the behavior that's being restricted. I mean, there's a lot of negotiating back and forth that happen, behind closed doors and in whispers. No big deal. Because we're PTO and because we're having an open discussion, I am wanting to sort of be, again, my whole goal is transparency of process and transparency of decision making, because we do have a responsibility to our stakeholders. Frankly, to just not get anyone in trouble. And because we're talking about it out loud.
Right. And I wouldn't suggest, like, I think for the PTO is one thing. I guess I'm saying if parents like fundraise some money for their classroom or give gifts independently to their teachers.
Yep, absolutely.
Who's gonna go after them?
We are certainly not a governing body. We are not legislative. We're not judiciary.
I guess
we're just a bunch of families that care about our school and talk and share ideas. Brianna, you have your hand raised. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, it was good. I was just kind of formulating a question. I guess, well, now I don't really have as much of a question. So I know that MFT, has the strike fund for teachers. I'm wondering if a different avenue may be to have a conversation with our union stewards to discuss the possibility of a strike fund specifically for being cross-staffed. If that's what I'm kind of hearing you're thinking about, then maybe going through the union as the MFT, but just a smaller piece of it, may change some of these pieces. I don't know.
Yes, that's a fair question, Brianna. Thank you very much. That discussion was pseudo touched upon on Monday, and as with anything in this process, the issue is what mechanisms are in place, or or do we have to build the system, right? And so yes, there isn't a system in place for our union stewards to sort of have a funding mechanism, a donation receiving mechanism yet. I think in part it's because of this $5 cap that we all pseudo act on. But it's not to say that it's not possible. And I think that certainly is worth exploring, when the time comes and the need is there. But thank you for bringing that up. Doug, you've got a hand up.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, I don't know, maybe we've touched over this one already or not, but the $5 cap, is the $5 cap per student per class, which means that we're not actually only limited to, we can only give $5 for my one student, or could we give, like, if there is 10 students in the class, could we give 50?
Yes. So as this reads, a parent handing something over to a teacher is limited to $5 in that exchange. But as this line reads, a group of parents or if the entire class or any part thereof makes a joint effort, the gift must not be more than $5 per student, which means if three families within a group coordinates, and there's 20 times 5, that's their ceiling. If that's the way that this goes, they do a mass email using the family directory to all the people in the grade saying, would you like to donate to our teachers? And of the 20, 5, well, then now the 5 have the up to the 20, have up to that cap, or all 20 have up to that cap. So that kind of gets at what you're asking, Doug. Thank you for the question.
I think the other comment here that came up in the chat too is to determine like, what do teachers at Bancroft prefer? And I think tapping into what Brianna was describing of connecting with our union stewards at Bancroft, and maybe it's a both and there to really figure out what is the best way. And what would they prefer in these options? I don't know that there's a vote that we need to take tonight on this one.
No, yes, thank you for pointing that out, Robin. As you can see, I have been resistant to actually calling a vote because it's not a PTO expenditure. And really, this is just, again, I just want to facilitate the discussions that families have out there. And this was one of them. How much can we give to teachers if we are wanting to give? And so here is the information as we have it. And I want to say we as PTO certainly have a mechanism in place. And that mechanism partnered with this particular role gives us kind of the line to walk before a train nails us. Okay. Any other discussion on this particular item? And just as a final
real quick, I don't know if I missed anything. Maybe you mentioned this. Did we mention? So I guess basically maybe to dovetail with what I'm understanding Brianna had said, like if parents want to get involved additionally, would going directly through like with funds or whatever, would going through a different channel, like say the union itself or the union stewards, or is there like, so a way that there's not, the responsibility isn't on the PTO and then we don't have to worry about these restrictions at all? I mean, could people say, oh, you can donate here, and then people can specifically give to say, and I don't know if MFT is one of those things that would be taking funds and distributing them to, support striking teachers at our school specifically. I don't know how any of that would work, but maybe that would help sort of sidestep some of these limitations that we might have as the Bancroft PTO organization, or, or parents of students with this $5 cap.
I tell you, I mean, absolutely. It's this is a discussion that we should have had in December, frankly, because of that one issue that where it originally cropped up. How do families give to a specific teacher in need? And the unfortunate thing was the resolution of that particular issue was that we were capped. And when where did it go? When, as a matter of context, then I got the assent from General Counsel Amy Moore on this idea. And I did reach out again now to see if I can get it again. No, I haven't heard back. I think there's a lot of busyness up there. So there's no time to reply. But yes, if there was another mechanism, I absolutely, parents and families and caregivers explore it and do what you can, do what you will, as your interest is. I think the unfortunate thing is that it's like what's it, the sword of Damocles over our teachers' heads, right? It's just sort of hanging there. And if they accept the money, what's going to happen? And if there is a mechanism through MFT, through the general fund, could there be one, as Brianna mentioned, a specific MFT mechanism for our school teachers, for the families and parents who want, and caregivers who want to give specifically to our teachers? That's worth a question that I certainly will take to our stewards. They didn't have that as of Monday. It doesn't exist as of Monday. In fact, as of Monday, the notion was, could we do the PTO way? Which is why I'm resurrecting this discussion. But this is a great discussion, and Justin, I want to point out, I very much appreciate you holding me in check because you bring up great points.
Well, yeah, it's not even so much that. It's more just like, I know people want to help, and that's an awesome thing. We want to facilitate that in the best way possible. And it's how do we do it without, putting anybody in sort of what are we legal jeopardy or whatever, we just don't want to, in wanting to do something good, do, harm to people and say, and encourage people to be like, hey, go do this. And then somehow the PTO gets in trouble, gets its 501c3 charter revoked or whatever, just, you don't want to go through any of that. So, yeah, I just want to, I know there's got to be a way that people can help and, maybe it's making a mountain out of a molehill. Maybe it's like people are saying, who's going to really check? I think Sarah's point is well taken, in the spirit of the whole thing, it's like, it's to prevent people from bribing teachers to give their kids better grades, right? So essentially, it's to prevent corruption. And, this isn't what that is, but there's still, personally, I would say a strike is an inherently political thing, right? It's one way that workers can use to as a work stoppage to get the wages that they feel they deserve. And so you just don't want to come into any conflict, to any things that prevent you from doing that as an organization. So I hope and I feel like there's probably ways beyond the PTO to get involved. So hopefully we hear back from some folks that you're talking to, VPAL, soon, so we can give people some answers. And yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll do PTO, obviously do what we can do. So.
Great. No, thank you, Justin. Yes, those are, I think, yes, I think we have some clarity, some direction, and some work to do on this topic. Is there any more discussion on it? And then I think we will move on to budget. Let me take a look at that chat. All right. Okay, seeing none, let's move on to budget. Oh, and just to close this out, again, one of the communications from our teachers were if you wanted to come and march with them, families are encouraged to come out 7 to 10, if it happens, at our Bancroft site. Okay, thank you very much. Budget 2022-23 submit. So there is a process. The district determines funding levels for the coming year. They give those funding levels of the various accounts to the site managers. In our case, it's Diego and Brianna. They come up with a budget to function for the coming year. The budget as it was presented at site council, and man, that was a site council that should have had more people. that was a big site council. We are projected to have 363 students next year. That's down 20 from this year, not including high five not in that count. There is a formula of attrition, as I understand it, that's applied, meaning how many students that we currently have might leave for another school next year, and then compared to what we're expected to take in terms of matriculating kindergartners and what have you. One of the things that Diego and Brianna were very careful to sort of explain is that on paper there is an increase in our budget, but really the increase is really to specific funds that are tied to specific expenditures. So there's not very much wiggle room in the expense, but we are seeing increases in the funds that affect these particular services at our school for the families. And I'm speaking really to the recording at this point for the families that avail themselves, VLL, ASD, and high five. But one of the unfortunate things, fewer students means less money. Is that right? Yeah, fewer students means less money, right? There is a particular amount tied to each student, and as they enroll, that's the funding that's available to us. So one of the issues of the reduction in our budget, in our operating budget, is we may lose a position. There may be a combination of positions. I think Diego and Brianna have until tomorrow to come up with whatever that might be. So there are 1 or 2 positions that are impacted. We were funded for 15 full teachers this particular year. Next year, we're funded for 14.2. We will still have 15 teachers, which means that 0.8 is going to be made up from somewhere else. I'll be absolutely upfront with everyone here. I have a second grader who's becoming a third grader. So I want to sort of put in that disclaimer as if I were a doctor. I have no financial interests, but I do have a second grader who's becoming a third grader. And so there is this notion that the grade 2 now is 2.5 classes with third grade. Moving forward, they'll each be just 2 classes, and so those 2 classes will grow. If the numbers stay, the numbers that I'm using are November's numbers, which would give us a 1 to 28 and a 1 to 30 in grade 2 and in grade 3 and in grade 4. The state, because of their attrition rate of 15%, is modeling 1 to 28 and 1 to 26 for grade 3 and 1 to 28 for grade 4. Regardless, it's still above the 1 to 24 ratio that I think is a suggested ratio for this particular age range.
The ratio that the district has, though, for this age range is like 26, 28, 25. So the district doesn't have a 1 to 24.
Oh, okay. Well, then there we go.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you
I'll
for
just
that
like throw that out there. But like for the youngest, for the early elementary, I think they've worked to stick there. But so I mean, I guess we go back and forth all the time with everybody about class sizes always. So I think it's
no,
here nor
absolutely.
there, but there's nothing that's stated that the district works for a 1 to 24 at that.
Right.
With
And I
those
think,
grade levels. Okay.
no, thank you very much. And I think as it was sort of discussed, and this links back to the strike discussion, one of the grievances in the strike is putting class size into the contracts so that class size becomes a grievable, actionable item. Meaning class size is a suggested number. As Brianna has pointed out, and thank you for the clarification, has pointed out, it's a moving number, but it's not a hard and fast rule. But in the discussions that we have as families, we talk about class size as a hard and fast rule. We talk about, we would want our students to be 1 to 18 as it was back in 1992, for example. We talk about, we do not want the 1 to 40 as it was sometime after 1992. So that is the challenge of this particular discussion when it comes to class size, is there is no hard and fast number, but everyone behaves as if there were one. And when it comes to budgeting, they don't use it, but when it comes to quality of teaching, they do use it. And I think this is an example of where, from a family point of view, what are our priorities? What are your priorities from a family point of view? And what is it that you want to communicate to the district? Do you want to send your students into a class of 1 to 24, or 1 to 26, or 1 to 28, or 1 to 30 and be fine with that? Or do we want to encourage, advocate for, lobby, and although lobby is not a great word, for funding that allows for a lower end of class size than on the higher end? I do have my summary of the discussion. I noticed, Brianna, the PowerPoint that made it to the site council website didn't include the worksheet with numbers, funding numbers. But I did have my summary with those numbers. And for those who are interested, and again, I will post this link in the recording area and on our Facebook, there was a meeting on the 22nd of February where the school board talked about the things that impact our budget. First of all, again, early March, this is tie out. Where is it? Where are we here? Sorry, that's enrollment. These are the enrollment numbers if you're interested in looking at that. Budget planning, here we are. So we're here where the schools locally complete their budgets, reviews and revisions can be made, which means that the point of family impact is in the April-May period, because then they get finalized and voted on in June. So for activity of our particular PTO, in terms of engaging with our families to see if they could advocate a little more strenuously, this is the period that we're looking at, April through May. And so that's what I'm bringing to PTO, frankly, is to organize and put some effort behind facilitating letter writings, facilitating call-ins to the district, call-ins to the state, $9.5 million surplus, is being bandied about as a number. That number keeps growing, right? There was this, I don't know this person, and truly I'm copy pasting, and I'm sort of being my dad where I'm just copy pasting from the web, assuming it's correct, right? But, there is this information being put out there of folks to connect with, to sort of share a message about this and put a little bit of pressure. You certainly can do it from a overview standpoint, hit the state, send some money downstream. I think there's also an interest and a need for our families to connect with the district about our school. I think if we can, at a minimum, try and find coverage for that 0.8 that's missing, is that a real reachable goal? You know, is that a reachable goal for us? We can't say, we don't know what effort impact will have on how much of the state funding comes back down. But maybe we could say a reachable goal for us is to advocate for a 0.8, an increase to cover the 0.8 in FTE. I'm open to discussion. Sorry, I've been talking for a long time there.
Yeah, I guess what I've been wondering, and this is maybe a question for Brianna, I've been spending a bunch of time this week writing to lawmakers about funding education, and specifically special education, because special education is like obviously special education is important to me, having a special education kid, but it's an unfunded mandate, and it really impacts MSP. And somebody finally introduced a bill to adequately fund it. It's being kind of blocked by Republicans. So anyway, that's I'm blabbing about this, but basically I spent a bunch of time writing emails to people this week, but I wasn't sure what I wasn't sure how to do is exactly how to address this for Bancroft. I'm happy to make phone calls and emails about this, but I'm wondering the best way to do it. I didn't want to step on any toes. I didn't want to get anybody in trouble if it was information we as families weren't supposed to know yet. So I think what would be helpful for me is if we had sort of a script of what's okay for us to say, who do we say it to, and then we can put the call out to people.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's a great thing. So let me put this question out to the group that's still here in the meeting, and thank you very much for everyone that's on this meeting still. Do we have volunteers to sort of sit on a separate committee to sort of talk through what a possible script might be? I mean, there's an action step that can be taken. That maybe we're not going to get all 17 of us that were here earlier today at 5:30, but maybe we can get 2 or 3 of us, and that will help inform the 200 of us. I don't know how many families we actually have at our school, you know, to represent the 393, but. And that's, I mean, and that's truly the question. That's why I'm putting this out to PTO. Is I am looking for some folks. I will sort of out Mandy on this. Mandy Stein is going to sort of be a lead person for us on the other issue to sort of help coordinate regarding the facilitating of families engaging in strike if they need to. And so I am looking for someone on this side of the question regarding budget and advocacy and letter writing and call-ins in the same way that Michelle's asking for that. Let me just check the chats for a second.
Yeah, we've got a couple of volunteers already. Looks like Tom, Michelle can help with emailing. Doug can help.
That is wonderful. Doug, Tom, Michelle. Doug, I got to tell you, I love your Zoom setup, man. That microphone. I don't know if you're a gamer, but when I hear you, it's very soothing. It's like AM gold. I grew up with AM radio.
I'm a Twitch streamer personality. I'm also a YouTuber as well. So I hear this all the time that they love the voice.
Yep. No. So this is great. So thank you for those. Set up NV. My setup is bed. Yeah, on my lap. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that works for me. I was asking for 3 and I got 3. And I think what we'll do is connect offline about what's possible, what's available in your timeline, given your day jobs, your family life, and the timeline that we have in front of us here. And Brianna, again, and I know Diego's not here, but I want to communicate out, you know, what was presented at Site Council and what I summarize here clearly is my summary with the biases that I just have. And so I am looking forward to having more discussions so that we do have an accurate statement of need and an accurate assessment so that we're not asking for the moon, so that they understand we're not asking for the moon. We're asking for 0.8 of the moon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I think. So, I mean, there's a lot of pieces. I guess I could come back to Michelle. I think, you know, what Diego and I have shared, unless like we're at a site council meeting and state specifically, like every once in a while, like at our ILT meeting, when we're talking about budget, like our site leadership meeting, we'll say, this is confidential until whatever date, you know, but anything that we've shared with families, that's stuff that you're able to use as long as it's, I would say, like the correct information. And so that I think is fine. And then, you know, when you said like exactly like, what should I say or how should I say it? I would just go to like, what is the ask, right? So if the ask is 80,000, so if we're saying we need 15 classrooms and our numbers end up being 14.2, but we really need 15, which is kind of where we're at, then is the ask that the district continues to fully fund the classrooms that they're expecting us to have, or is the ask more so class size? And then for me, that becomes more of a policy and a system wide. So I would say my perception would be that as Bancroft, we wouldn't make movement by saying we personally need smaller class sizes. That would be a larger systemic change that we would need to look at and look at larger, because then once you have the smaller class sizes, then you would be able to, those would look differently for funding as well. So I don't know. So that's, I guess, my question's kind of like really trying to narrow down, like, what is the ask and what is the request? And then what is the, you know, hope to get that. Getting the district to give us 15 teachers, the amount for 15 teachers instead of 14.2, that's not going to change how many kids are seated in a classroom. That's not going to change that. You know, it may let us hold on to, say, like an AE who then could assist with more lunch and recess. And so like those are the pieces that I think, and there's a lot of ins and outs. And so just trying to understand the direct ask. So that's what I have.
Hey, Brianna, can I just real quick, do you, I mean, I know obviously different municipalities do school funding differently, but I mean, where does our district's money come from potentially? I mean, is it basically like, you know, well, taxes, of course, but like, is it property taxes that funds it and then it's dispersed on a per child basis? Like, is that like the main, like sort of the baseline of funding is like X amount, if you have this many children, this is how much money you get. And then of course there's the additional expenditures for, you know, for special needs and all the different things, right? So is that how it is? And is that inflexible? Because it seems to me that there's particularly in an urban municipality, right? Like a big city like Minneapolis, St. Paul, you're going to have a lot of students that are coming to school that are going to have needs above and beyond even just free and reduced lunch, right? There's going to be, you know, there's some students who are unhoused and all this different stuff. And all this plays into the quality of education that happens. So I'm wondering is there any way that possibly does change? I mean, I know you maybe you can't answer that question. I mean, like, go talk to the governor. I don't know. Go talk to the state legislature. I mean, who does one really talk to? Do you talk to the school district? Do you talk to the voters? I mean, who is you want to put pressure on changing the funding so that maybe there's special funding that goes just because of the extreme needs for some of our student population?
Yeah. So I can't answer like how much of our money is coming from, I probably could find the answer. I don't know how much of our money comes from property taxes or, you know, whatnot. The way that it works is that there's a per pupil amount of money. So like, I'm going to throw out an amount. So let's say like Henry, you know, he comes to school and every student who walks in our door carries like X amount of money in their backpack. So let's say it's like $3,000. It's more than that, but right. So, and then maybe Henry's an English language learner. So we get additional funding. So Henry now has $5,000. Henry also has been homeless and highly mobile in the last 6 months. So now we have another additional funding. Henry also receives special education, like anything, like, so you mentioned that, right? And so those pieces come more federally. I think it's the per pupil that then the, within the state or the city where like your property taxes come on, but it's the state that is giving us, state and federal is where we get a lot of our money. Title I So our Title I, so the percentage of students, that's based off the percentage of students with free and reduced lunch. That's why it is so extra important, you know, that we get every single family to fill out our forms. So I mean, I can't, I guess, answer very specifically. I think it just depends on what it is that if it's like, we want more money to go to the schools. Well, right now we have a huge state surplus. We know we have lobbyists, you know, the gentleman, Josh, whose name that you brought up, he's come and talked to our forum before, the principal forum, our group. He is a lobbyist, you know, so like, that's one avenue is the state, like, how can we get monies to schools? And then the other piece is, how does Minneapolis public schools choose to then distribute their funds to the schools? So Minneapolis receives all this money per pupil, and then they distribute it to the schools. So maybe they hold, I don't know, you know, like, instead of putting money into XYZ people up at the district level, well, what kind of that money is going into our schools? Or their policies, such as a 1 to 26 for a 3rd grade classroom, if they want that to be a 1 to 22, well, that would be more of like that system-wide district, and that's the district choice then. So I think there's like, it's a both. Maybe that wasn't the best succinct answer, but.
If I may add to the
thanks for that.
conversation, looking at past budgets at the district level, I can tell you that our district receives between 39 and 42% of its budget from the state. And that fluctuates that's fluctuated over the years. And I've only looked at the last past 5 years. And then that federal pot that Brianna alluded to, that has changed between 29 and 36%, depending on the year. And then we do get funding from other sources, other grants and whatnot, but those are the 2 big pots. And so the pots haven't really changed much in terms of percentages and the, you know, the community.
Oh, B. Paul, I think you cut out there, or maybe it was me. Sorry, maybe it was just me. Another, I guess, big piece, and I'm still working to fully grasp and understand this, but special education is a really huge cost to our district. And one of the reasons that it's a huge cost is many of our students with special education, if a student with special education needs attends a school outside of attends a charter school. So if a Minneapolis resident attends a different district or a charter school and that student has special needs, we are responsible to pay for specific services for that student still as Minneapolis public schools. But the school itself receives the fund, other school outside of our district receives that funding. So there's a really big gap there. And I think that would be something that could be worked for within, I don't know if it's in law or policy at the state level too. Yes, exactly, Michelle. So thank you. Look. So I think that's also a huge piece. So I think just coming back to I mean, we all know that there's a lot of changes that need to be made within education, but really deciding what are the things that we want to see specifically, and funding would be a good place to start.
Great. Thank you for that discussion. Any other comments? And then I think we'll move on to our next topic. Okay, let me just do a quick share. We are working feverishly toward a family involvement night, March 31, right before break, the Thursday. Brianna, I've got a spot for you. Stand-up comedy care, Miss Nichols. So I will reach out more specifically, Brianna, to you and Diego, if you would like to MC again. I think you guys did a great job. The families loved seeing you all, and the comments were great in terms of pretty much everything that happened last time. It was all positive, except for the waits between figuring out who won bingo. So what I'm going to fill that in with is, first of all, yes, it's going to be another bingo night, but we're going to fill it in with families overwhelmingly wanted to have cameras on and see each other. So we could do dance party, which seemed to have been received. The one time we did it that night was received well. So it could be just play some music, have everyone turn on the cameras, and they could all just sort of watch and interact and see each other. I mean, it's very low level tech, high level energy. There is a mimic game that we could do that's in the same vein. I would do something like hold up a pair of headphones, or you would, and we would say to everybody, turn your body into the shape, and we'd see how different people try to mimic the shape of the thing. It just as an activity. The scavenger hunt seemed to work out well last time. We'd have to figure out a way, and the committee and I are trying to figure out a way of doing it so that's not so lickety split. People have time to run and come back. I think some of the items you're asking for were just too easily around reachable. I think we need to make them a little more challenging. There's your comedy night. So if you want to prep your jokes, but the highlight, what's really going to fill in, is especially specialist showcase videos that we're creating, the PTO is creating. We're going to have 6 specialist videos. We've already got 2 in the bank, and we're working on 4 more, and we'll run 1 round of bingo, specialist video, maybe a dance party. We've got the winner. We're going to round 2. So there really isn't any actual waiting for the winner, because you're doing stuff as we tabulate. And committee is also working on a way to speed up the tabulation time. So what I'm actually putting forward here is a request for a budget of funding for 10 digital gift cards of $25 a piece. 10 winners is what we're looking forward to, which is what we had last time. And then with an additional budget of $80 to cover some miscellaneous expenses, such as decorations and what have you. And so I'm looking for a family involvement night budget of $330, and I'm going to ask for a vote. But before I do that, I do want to open the floor to questions and comments. Oh, Justin's already got a 1 in. Thank you, Justin.
I feel like there was somewhere on the feedback of, and maybe I made this up, so asking for like more winners. Could you do like $10 gift cards?
Yeah,
yep. I mean, and I think that's like more logistical versus like funding or whatever, but.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's talk about that. Are we stuck with the 10 because that seemed to be what worked in terms of the time frame that we had? I think we might have done maybe there was an 11th sort of snuck in after the fact that got missed, but and then we also did these side games. The scavenger hunts so we actually had a few more prize money, but it wasn't bingo specific. We could increase if PTO would like to do so. I have no qualms against that. We could lower it to $20, but increase it to well, leave it at 260 or 300, and then just fit as many $20 gift cards in there. Is that something? So why don't I go with 380 and then just see where we land? So I'll amend my ask to 380, 3 plus 80. Any other comments, questions?
Sorry, so how much our individual prize is going to be then?
If we go $20 gift cards, max of $300 of total prizes, and then see if we hit that number. That's 15. Is that 15? Did I do my math right? It would be more than what we handed out last time. All right, seeing no more discussion, I think it's probably time for a vote. So 1 for yes, 2 for no. Brianna, you certainly are welcome to vote because you are the MC. But I don't just watch.
I do have a disclaimer. There is a very like a medium possibility I would not be able to attend that night. So Diego would have to take over with his humor, but
okay, yep.
And I will not know, unfortunately, until I'll be out earlier that week, and whatever events happen at that time, I'll know if I'll be out. So.
Yeah.
You have to guarantee then that he wears the visor.
Yeah,
he probably will, but I felt so underdressed. I didn't know that it was really like happening like that last time. So I was kind of looking forward to this. So hopefully I can figure it out.
All right. So looks like budget passed. Thank you very much. Brianna, you zoom in from wherever you are. It is over Zoom. Okay. So there's that. Now I will, Justin, you have some new business. And so I'm going to stop my share and open the floor to new business. Thank you very much for your patience, Justin.
All right, I'll try to be as quick as possible. Some of them are just things I just wanted to put out there that are happening. So Sue Francis sent me an email with a funding request for that fifth grade IB ambassadors, and they have done this every year in the past. They've done the socks sales. I sent her the link for the funding request form. How does that exactly work? Like when that gets filled out, where does it go and who has access to that to look at it and see what's on there?
Well, I'm saying, so the question is, who has access to see the funding request form?
Yeah, like I don't understand the back end of what happens. Like I found the form in one of the folders on the shared drive and I just passed that along to her. I sent her the link and she, I assume, fills it out and then hits send or something like that. It comes back to what, the Bancroft PTO email or something? Because I looked at, there was a list of like past ones that had been done in the past, and it didn't make sense. There was a summary that just said like a name or something. You know, it just didn't give the information that I thought would be in a funding request. I thought it would be more like thorough, like here's a description of what's happening. And maybe that is located somewhere. I just didn't know if I could access that or as the treasurer, so I could see what that looks like.
You can. No, you should have access to it. And if you don't, like the actual form as well as its responses. So if you don't, let's figure that out. But yeah, so the form really is just an intake for information, and then it gets, we take it in front of PTO and we vote on it, or if it's Masonic Lodge funds, we simply say, let's cut the check.
Yeah, that's what I understood. I just didn't know, like, when they fill out the form and did they submit it and it comes back to the PTO email?
Robin gets the, Robin's teacher funding. So no one actually gets an active ping. It's just something that we watch for. So I look at it periodically, or you would look at it periodically.
Okay. All right, because I have access to the Bancroft PTO email, and then there was another, I don't know, I guess it was in another folder where there was a list of past funding requests. And
it's because it's the same, if we're thinking of the same thing, it's the same worksheet. It's a Google form that simply feeds a worksheet. And so you would see a couple of years back. However old that form is, you're seeing the running tally. Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying there wasn't I was looking for something to click on that would give me the information about what was the questions that were answered. Like it wasn't,
I see.
That information wasn't readily available that I could tell.
What makes more sense? In the worksheet, go up to tools, view live form. That'll give you the form that generated the questions.
Got it. Okay. All right. I think that makes sense. I'll go back and look at it some more. Thank you for that. Okay. So there was that. So you understand what the ask is here is that the PTO pays for the socks. We pre-purchase the socks and then the kids sell them, and whatever they make from selling them, they give to charity.
Yep.
So it's basically, that's how it is. And in past years, it's run the PTO about $300. It might be between $350, $400, considering, costs that have gone up. I don't know. Sue hasn't submitted the form yet, I don't think, or hasn't given me an invoice of what it is, but that would come out of the PTO general fund. So is that something we are going to fund? I pretty much didn't have any objections to it, but I wanted to run it by the PTO board.
No, I saw the email chain. Yeah. I mean, we could,
great.
Are you ready for that vote to hit the floor, or?
Yeah, we can certainly just vote on it now. Just
it's a 1 to fund, 2 to not. And just for context, we've always funded, I believe. We've done this in the past. Yeah. So 1 to fund, 2 to not.
All right. Thanks, people.
Thank you very much.
All right. Then the next thing is that she brought up something about some parents had asked if they could do sort of an electronic payment through Venmo or PayPal or something like that. And I didn't, as far as I understand, we don't have anything like that set up for the Bancroft PTO. We don't have a Venmo account. We don't have a PayPal account.
Right.
Correct?
Right. We I don't know if we have a Venmo, and I don't know if we have a PayPal. We've got Square. And
yeah, we have Square. Yep. Okay.
Square does have an online portal. It's a matter of integrating Square specific apps into, for example, a website, and then that's how you take payments. So we could look at leveraging Square's existing online portal. I know Square is primarily a point of sale, point of sale functionality, but there is an online portal bit. And then we were locked into an account that already functions. But if PTO is interested in opening up another account, one of the things is I'm just leery of having Venmo, PayPal, Square. I mean, you know,
Absolutely.
many
That's my worry too. And then
Yeah.
like, what do you do with the passwords? And like, how
Yeah,
does
yeah.
that transfer from officer to officer? You don't want people, and assuming that it's tied to an email account at the end of the day, you don't want people to, whoever has access to just look at, hey, password reset on Venmo and then send that off to somebody else. And, you know, I mean, not that people are doing that, but it gets a little bit to be of a leaky boat, right? So
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's we are an all volunteer group, and I
Sure.
think it's not out of corruption. It's mostly out of incompetence that money leaks.
Right. Yeah. So I guess my point is like, I think that would maybe be a good idea to do something. Would you be willing to look into something like leveraging the Square account to do
Yeah.
something like that? So if we have these fundraisers that people want to pay, we can use that option just
Yep.
to make things more convenient for people.
Yep. I
Okay.
mean, I think for sure we should look at what we have already, and I do believe I am actually a PayPal user more than a Square user. But I
Sure.
do know that Square did have and I did use. And so to see how that's changed over the years, we could take a look at that. And then if it's not sufficient to our needs, yeah, we could look at a Venmo. The nice thing about Square and PayPal is the built-in invoicing, I mean, there's so much built in from a business standpoint. Venmo's still very much, you know, a peer-to-peer type thing. And that's where it gets a little loosey-goosey. So yes, you're not asking for a vote at this point. I think we're just looking for some direction,
Nope,
right?
I'm really I would like to, this might be something that might not even happen till next school year. I'm just
Yeah.
really just putting it out there as it's been a request that people have made. And I think that's something that we could at least look into as a PTO for, you know, welcome to the 21st century sort of thing. 22 years later, but I think that might be a nice option for folks. And then she also mentioned that the fifth graders, I think it's fifth graders, maybe it's fourth and fifth, she's managed to secure funding for fifth grade ski trip.
Yep, that's happening now, tomorrow.
Yeah, this is something else. And the funds will, she needs an advance on that before her funding comes through. So she needs to pay the invoice for the ski trip before the funds are dispersed from her funding source. And this is an additional funding source that she's gotten to put together this trip. So I will pay her that invoice out of the Masonic Lodge funds. And then when she gets that funding, that money will be replenished to that fund.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that that's what's going on there. And if folks
Absolutely.
know.
Transparency is great, thank you.
But yeah, that sounds fun for them. So there's that. And then I asked about the PTO funding form. So I think that was all really I had. So thank you for bearing with me, folks.
No, thank you for your patience to tagging that on to the end here, Justin. I appreciate you bringing that up. All of that is important. And I'm glad we're not missing anything in the excitement and turmoil of the last couple of weeks. So having said that, any other new business? I'm going to make one more call out. Samuel and Doug, if you're not on the email list, you certainly are welcome to put your email in chat and I will grab it and include you.
I threw my email in there earlier, so
You did? Okay.
please feel free
So
to
I'm gonna
collect
save
it.
the
Yep.
chat. Great, thank you. And I appreciate a welcome. Great, thank you, Doug. I appreciate your activity. If there is no more new business, we are 1 over. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time, everybody. Have a good Thursday, and we'll see you when we see you.
Good night.
Good
Thanks,
night.
everyone. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Night.